Yes, indeed, folks. My name is Totalbiscuit, and I suck at Starcraft 2. Welcome to another episode. We're going to be having a look at the idea of mixing things up a little bit in terms of the standard Marine Marauder ball. It's known as the Bio Ball. It's an extremely effective tactic against a lot of different things. It's very basic, it's very easy to learn, and as a result, an awful lot of lower level players, including myself, use it an awful lot, particularly in a Protoss versus Terran matchup. Almost every PvT, I will go sort of a 2 or 3 barracks build fairly early on, and I'll apply pressure with it and try and basically beat my way through there with Stim, Concussive Shell, and Marine Shield if things start to get a little bit hairy. Kiwikaki gave out some very good advice, which involves building Marauders, dude. Well, building Marauders is a very effective strat, and indeed a useful talent to have in the situation that you're going up against Protoss. But what happens when the Bio Ball fails, as it very well can? And indeed, if all you're doing is sort of throwing Marines and Marauders at your enemy, then the enemy can very easily go and counterattack and do massive amounts of damage, or indeed with good force field placement, really screw you over. If you're very Marine heavy, good use of Guardian Shield can really screw you over. If you're Marauder heavy, good use of Mortals can screw you over. And then, of course, the ultimate threat at the end of all of that, if you don't manage to break his line, is that he gets a Colossus out. And once he starts getting Colossi out, your Bio Ball is basically boned. Yes, indeed it is. It is in an awful lot of trouble. So, in this case, we're going to mix things up a little bit, and I'm going to show you an effective use of a Ghost. Basically spicing up your Bio Ball a little bit in a PvT by using a Ghost. And this is something I've known about for a very long time, and I've known it's very effective, but I've always lacked the confidence to actually use it. And to a lot of the higher level players, they don't really know why you're watching this. Maybe it's some kind of catharsis. You see where you came from, and you can console yourself with feeling that you're infinitesimally better than I am. I know, I'm misusing the word infinitesimally. I don't care. It applies in both ways. Whatever the case, I've lacked the confidence to break out the Ghost. I've not wanted to do it because it's like, oh my god, micro. Ooh. Micro, that's scary. That's a scary idea. What happens if I screw it up? What happens if I run my Ghost into the front line and it gets shot to pieces? What a waste of resources that I could have just spent on Marines and Marauders, which are much easier to use. Yes, but with the proper use of a Ghost, then the Marine Marauder combo becomes really powerful. Extremely, extremely potent, assuming you can pull it off. And in this case, what you will notice in this game is that I deploy a Ghost in order to solve a problem. And the problem that I'm having is I can't break his line. And if I can't break his line, then I am in a lot of trouble, because he's going to be able to tech, he's going to be able to get the Colossus out, and then I'm not in a situation where I can counter it, because in this particular game, I pretty much go all barracks. I think it's 2 or 3 barracks, if I remember correctly, and I eventually then go Ghost Academy. Yeah, there you go, 3 barracks. I don't have a factory, and I don't have a starport, which means if his Colossus goes up, then I'm in a lot of trouble. And that's actually kind of the weakness of the 3 barracks if you dedicate too much to the 3 barracks approach. A lot of other players will, for instance, maybe go for the build where you build a barracks and then a factory, then a starport, and then maybe expand out to 3 barracks or something like that, depending on whether or not it's a useful thing to do at the time. Maybe they'll try and be a bit flexible there. But as a lower level player, which is what I am, I often get very fixated. I get very tunnel visioned on particular things. So, for instance, because I've had a lot of success applying pressure and making sure that my opponent continues to be under pressure, I fixate on that an awful lot. And that's a problem. And right now, if we have a look at the unit count, you could have seen that I could actually go in here and I could do fairly significant damage. I have 2 Marauders, I've got 2 Marines out, I've now got this rolling with a reactor as well. I have Concussive Shell. I could go in right now and do massive damage. I don't. I delay this a little bit, which is a mistake, yeah? The learning of timings and the optimum time to go in and knowing approximately what your opponent's gonna have at any given time is a skill you will hopefully learn as you go through, and it's something I'm looking to learn as well. And I'm getting a feel for it now. It's odd, when you spectate an awful lot of pro games like I do, I commentate an awful lot of pro games. Timings, they're not really the kind of thing you pay a huge amount of attention to, because you assume that the pro gamer is going to know his timings and get them right. So, in reality, you don't really care. And bearing in mind you have the casting interface, so you can see exactly what anyone's got at any given time. So, you don't really pay much attention to the timings, at least I don't. And maybe that's a weakness in my casting that I should be working on. But, that is problematic, because then I can't really apply the whole timing idea to my play. Now, in this case, you'll notice that my timing is off. I've gone in there a little bit too late, and what I've actually tried to do is I've tried to get the stim pack out. I got the stim pack out a little bit too late there, and I wait for the stim pack to finish, and then I decide to actually go in there. And we'll see exactly what ends up happening as we continue along. So I'm going in there with 6 Marauders, 11 Marines. He's got 8 Zealots, he's got 2 Sentries, 2 Stalker, and there we go. Now, I don't want to pop this stim too early. Trying to save the stim. A lot of people go for the stim really, really early, and that's not a very good thing at all. There's my stim, but he gets a great force field. Really, really nice, actually. He manages to divide and conquer. Admittedly, he does block in his own Zealots eventually, so that's not too bad, but look at that. Managed to keep me in there, and he's done a good amount of damage there. I did good damage to him as well, but he kills the last 2 Marauders for no casualties, and I'm about 200 resources behind him now. However, my economy is ahead of his, because he's actually been lagging behind quite a bit in terms of pro production. This is one of his weaknesses right here. He's not using Chrono Boost at all. He's got a full Chrono Boost bar. He could be using it on Warp Gates. He could be using it on his Forge right here. He could be pumping out a Mortal with it. He could be using it to simply Chrono Boost probes, and actually he's not doing that. I believe, if I recall, this guy was a Gold League player. Now, I continue to apply pressure, but bear in mind there's an observer here, and he actually knows what's coming. This is the interesting thing. He knows about the Ghost Academy, but knowing about the Ghost Academy doesn't necessarily mean you can counter the Ghost Academy. Especially since you don't really know what the Ghost is going to do. I mean, Ghosts are kind of multi-role. They can do a lot of different things. The E.M.P is very powerful. You can also, of course, use them to do a lot of nuking. And you can, of course, use them to cloak. Now, I'm bringing out personal cloaking right here, but I don't even think I end up using it. I go in there with more pressure, and as I discovered, that was a terrible idea. Absolutely abysmal. Thankfully, his force field placement wasn't quite good enough, so I think I can even pick off a Zealot here for free. Now, in terms of where my economy is right now, it's actually kind of strong. My build order, mostly okay, as far as I can tell. I think there are a few instances where I got myself supply blocked, but not a huge problem. And I do have this going up right here. I've got 3 barracks, and I do eventually get a 4th, because I realize, oh, I can't produce both Marauders and, of course, Ghosts. That would be terrible. Oh, lol. I managed to get one in the back right there as well. I'm still lagging behind in terms of unit count, yeah, and units lost. You can see it right there by a very significant margin, but it doesn't necessarily matter, because efficiency is not what you necessarily need to win. It doesn't matter if I've lost more dudes than he does, if I can continue to apply the pressure, and if I can keep my economy rolling. Right now I have a 2 Harvester lead on him. Of course, I also have access to mules, which I'm currently not deploying right now. Don't even ask me why, but there you go. And I can probably safely expand here if I so desire. Indeed, he's going to try and do that right now, but his expansion's a little bit late on the almost 12-minute mark. It's not going to be up before 12.5 minutes at the very least. And I'm still trying to one-base this guy. I don't really know what I was doing there. I think I was looking for the observer. I'm fairly sure I saw it around there. Didn't see it, but there you go. Now, I've got Marine Shield. I've got +1 weapon, which is pretty damn good. And now, what I want to do is I want to try and mix a Ghost in here and see exactly what it does. So, I've been having problems breaking this. We have a look at the unit count right now. You should notice that I'm probably in quite a lot of trouble. If I go in here right now, I should, by all rights, die. 12 Zealots, 5 Stalkers, 4 Sentry. And I have 27 Marines, 5 Marauders, and a single Ghost. Now, what I'm going to try and do here is exploit the fact that I've noticed in the past that he kind of bunches up, and he relies on force fields to divide me. Now, what I want to try and do is go in there, land a good E.M.P, and then hopefully I can kill him as a direct result of that. You know, break the E.M.P, break through his shield, and then using the stim, bearing in mind my Marines are doing extra damage because I've got +1 as well, I should hopefully be able to cut those guys down without too much of a problem and hopefully win the game, which is what we're looking to do right now. Okay, so up the ramp, like I say, he does have a good number of units, no question about that. I get a Zealot for free right there, and there's the E.M.P. Did you see it? Did you see that E.M.P? Because look at how much of a difference that made. I'm going to pause that, I'm going to go back a little bit. There we go. Okay, let's slow this down. I want you to watch the health bar of the Protoss player here, and just note just how effective a ghost can be if you mix it in with your play and you become a little bit confident with it. So, there we go, going on nice and slow. Watch the health bar, watch the health bars. Oh look, all of the shields on the frontline units completely collapsed. I'm pretty sure I landed on at least about 70 of them there, and I lost a few Marines. That was it. If that E.M.P. was not in that group, I would have lost that engagement, most likely. Yeah? He would have got good force field placement down, he'd have probably cut me in half, and at least even I would have probably done an awful lot of damage to him, I think, but he would have probably won that engagement. Now, I want to show you one more thing, and it's going to be from my perspective, because I didn't do this all that well. So, let's switch over to my perspective. There we go, we're on my camera. Go forward just a little bit. Now, I want you to have a look at my hotkey groups. Yeah? You see this right here? We're going to have a look at that. That's my hotkey group, and the ghost is sort of at the front of it. Now, what this means is if the ghost is actually at the front of the hotkey group, then I can access the ghost's abilities as opposed to these guys. Now, if I tab, then I can tab through the various unit type groups, as you can see right there, and I could then stim. But the problem with having them all in one group here is that I lack the ability to stim at the right time. Now, watch this again. Slow this down. Make sure you can see the health bar. Now, watch when I stim. Okay, E.M.P. coming in. There we go. Now, it takes me a good few seconds to actually get the stim off. And the reason it does is simply because I don't have it properly grouped. Yeah? I don't have my units properly grouped. If I had had my ghost on 4 and my main group on 1, then what I could have done is I could have pressed 4, I could have gone for my E.M.P, yeah? Fired my E.M.P round off, and then I could have quickly switched to my main group, which would have been my Marines Marauders, hit the stim key, and there you go. So, just a few things about really integrating a ghost into your Protoss versus Terran play. It's very low level, it's very basic, but again, that's what this series is actually all about. And what I would say is, don't be scared to try something that requires a little bit of micromanagement. You've got to learn it at some point, and as you saw there, it was so very, very critical. There are a few other things that I could have seen here. I mean, the lack of flexibility that I have right now could have been a weakness if he decided to go for anything else. I mean, for instance, I'm quite confused why at 13 minutes in the game he didn't have Colossus. Well, let's go and have a look at his resources, shall we? Yeah, look at that. He could have very easily teched a Colossus. When could he have done it? Let's go and have a look at that. Because, again, if you're a Protoss player and you know what's coming, you know that he's going to keep throwing those biological units at you, then Colossus right now should be kind of a priority. Now, he doesn't have his robo right now, so I'm going to just skip forward just a little bit and find out when he puts his robotics. I mean, he puts his robotics facility after a 4th gateway, which to me is a little bit questionable. That deviates from the standard build. And the problem then being that he's going to be pumping out units from all 4 of these gateways, and he's going to be limiting the amount of money he actually has in order to get the robotics base so he can get his Colossus out. But right now, he actually has the money for it, yeah? Admittedly, if you went straight for Colossus now, he could be vulnerable to early game pressure, so that's maybe what he's thinking about. But there are several points in this game where he has the money to get the robotics. Yep, here, for instance. There was one there. He's got loads of gas. He has... Look at how much gas he has all the way through this. Loads and loads and loads of gas. Not sinking on upgrades, not really sinking even heavily on sentries, which is actually kind of confusing. I'm surprised he's not doing that, because his weakness right now is the fact that he doesn't have a fully saturated mineral line, and he's just not getting quite as many minerals as he should. I mean, it's close to being fully saturated, but it's not completely saturated. Again, it's something that he could maybe consider doing. All this gas that he has, he's not spending it on anything. Again, multiple opportunities where he could have gone for that. And, indeed, by the 8-minute mark, he's got an observer in my base who knows everything that I'm doing. Everything. And still no Colossus. So, if you are a Protoss player, and you know that it's like, oh look, 3 barracks plus Ghost, you should be thinking right now, Colossus. Oh my god, why do I not have Colossus right now? You know? And I've gone in with the pressure once again, and still no response there in terms of the Colossus. A little bit of a mistake. What could I have done better? Well, my economy's pretty good. I'm not entirely sure if my mineral line is saturated. I think it is, yeah? I'm getting a bit better at this now. Obviously, hotkeying my command center to 3, so it's very easy, and I can do the tap. At least I would be able to if it wasn't the casting interface. And if you've seen Day 9's daily on the subject of mechanics, then you'll be aware of exactly what the tap is. Yeah? The tap is where you double tap a hotkey to take you directly to a building to check exactly what it's doing. And what I've also got here is I've got all 3 barracks bound to a single key, and I do what I like to call the mash. Now, the thing about the mash is that Day 9 would probably shoot me for doing this, but it's quite effective in low levels when you get really tunnel visioned. The mash is an effective way to make sure you're at least spending some resources. It's not an efficient way of doing things, it's not a particularly smart way of doing things, but it's better than not building anything. So what I would do is, if I'm sort of in the middle of a fight right here, in the middle of this fight, I can hit the 2 button, yeah? So let's just say I'm hitting the 2 button right here, and I can mash A and D repeatedly, like really, really quick. Now, I don't know if I want to do that because it might break the casting. There you go. So I'm sort of hammering right here, and obviously you can see it's switching the menus in the casting interface, but that doesn't really matter. AD, 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 AD. And then I've queued up a bunch of Marines and Marauders. At least I'm building something while I'm fighting. No, it's not the most efficient way. What a pro would do is he would use the tap. Yeah? He would double tap the key while he's in the middle of it rapidly, and this would all be done in the fraction of a second to check exactly what's being built and then build another thing. And now, it's bad form to queue units. That's what a lot of pros will tell you. But at the lower levels, it's better to queue units than not build anything at all. Because what would happen if I was if I was playing bronze level right here, and what I used to do, which is, oh my god, I'm going to go on an attack, I'm going to really focus on my micromanagement, which is dumb, because when I lose all my guys, I suddenly realize I've got nothing in my base, because I've been fixating too much on the fight. I haven't built anything. I've got 2,000 resources, a few barracks, and then I get counter-attacked and die. That's dumb. So, yeah. Otherwise, my economy's fairly good. I could have taken this expansion earlier, I feel. I mean, I had the money for it. If we have a look at it right now, I could have expanded right there. Yeah, I'm barely even doing the mash right here, as you can see. I mash right there to get some more units, but there are so many different occurrences and indeed situations where I could have expanded. I could have taken these guys instead of doing nothing. I should have gone and attacked down here. Again, clear the debris out if you're on a map like Delta Quadrant. Why not? If you've got units that are doing nothing and you've got map control, which I kind of do right now, I know that my opponent is not attacking me. Why am I not blowing this up? Why don't I kill the debris there? That's something that you should absolutely 110% do. No question. Give yourselves options all the time for expansion possibilities.
This better be good.
Of course, you can expand there. And if you want to go take gold mineral, you can take that as well. But again, this is the safest place to go. Admittedly, you are a little bit vulnerable to Protoss that like to dump a pylon down there and warp things in. You can bypass the line entirely. Very risky on this particular map. But again, expand. My god, expand. The worst thing is if you suddenly realize you are totally out of resources. I mean, right now I'm okay, but what about if we go all the way through at the end? I mean, look at this. I'm actually draining the resources pretty damn hard. And so many opportunities to expand, I didn't do it. So if I was not able to end the game on that E.M.P shot right there, I could have been absolutely screwed. Because he'd have been on 2 bases, I'd have been on 1. All my units may be dead once again, so I'm on the defensive. He probably counterattacks, and then I'm boned. So, if anything, I was a little bit lucky there. Whatever the case, hopefully that's given you a little bit of information on the use of a ghost in an effective turning point in a particular game, using it as part of your Marine Marauder ball. Yeah? It is a brute force tactic, but if you add a little bit of precision into it, you can make it much more effective versus the Protoss. Well recommended that you at least give it a try if you're having trouble. Maybe try breaking the line earlier on. Maybe get the stim out a little bit earlier than I did. And try and attack initially. Don't be afraid to go in there with just a couple of units. So if you have 2 Marines, 2 Marauders against Protoss, as you saw I did, let's go back and let's exactly see when I had 2 Marines and 2 Marauders and what my opponent had in the meantime. Okay. Keep an eye on the unit count window in the corner. Let's get forward just a little bit here. There we go. 2-minute mark. So, 2-minute mark in building my barracks. Barracks finishes up, no problem whatsoever. Build my first Marine. Build my second Marine after that. And I'm a little bit suspicious of proxy pylons, so you see I run around there. But then I build my tech lab. 1 Marauder out. 2nd Marauder out. And stop. Yeah. I mean, that's not particularly early. You know, I could have probably got them out a little bit faster than that, but I have 2 Marines and 2 Marauders at the 5-minute mark, give or take, yeah? What does my opponent have at this mark? 3 gateways, a Stalker, a Sentry, and a Zealot, yeah? Does he have Warp Gate tech? He doesn't. He does not. Could he have got it any earlier? Let's go back and have a look, shall we? Again, do a little bit of analysis here. Try and find this out. Did he do anything late? His gateway goes down at about the right time, no problem. Cybernetic core goes down at about the right time. So no, actually he's not late, or is he? Yeah, see, he is. I thought that was a little bit late. Very, very late right there. He could have started that, let's see, probably a good minute earlier. Actually, even less than that. There we go. Cybernetic core completes. Good God, why is this guy forgetting to build Warp Gate? I don't know. But hey, you know, again, this is low-level play, so shouldn't really surprise you. Faster, 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 faster. When does it finish? When does it finish? Because he's putting us down at around the right time. There you go. Cybernetic score finishing around 3 minutes 45. So he'll then kick into Warp Gate. Takes 140 seconds. So you can figure it out from there. So anywhere in between about 3 minutes 45 and about 6 or so minutes, you can... Actually, yeah. What's that? Let me just think. My maths was terrible. It's actually about the 7-minute mark or whatever. You could probably go in there and apply some pressure, and he wouldn't be able to build too many units. You know, I mean, he's building gateways, as you can see right there. He puts down 2 more, which is not all that uncommon. But at this point, you could get aggressive potentially. And bear in mind, if you have the concussive shell, you can use it as an escape mechanism. I know it's often used for tying down your opponents, and indeed, it excels at that. But it's also useful for making sure you can run the hell away. Why not poke your opponent? Yeah? Why not just go in there and have a feel and see exactly what you can do? Why not? What is the risk? What is holding you back from that? I had to wonder what was really holding me back from that. And I think it really is being gun-shy in the early game and not getting aggressive. A lot of lower-level RTS players view the rush as a bad thing. It's not. Rushing is part of any game. Without question. Any RTS game has a rushing element in it. And indeed, rushing has this bad connotation, but in reality, all rushing means is go attack early and go stick the boot in and see what you can do. Obviously, if you lose all your dudes, that kind of sucks, but you should be able to tell kind of at a glance whether or not that's going to happen. I mean, if I went in, and I don't believe I'm still not going in, am I? Good God. You know, I eventually decided to go in. I could have gone in way earlier than this. And I could have actually done way more damage, because I actually let him get his warp gates up there. Such a dumb thing to do, especially when he was so late on the warp gates. I could have ended that game much earlier, if only I got aggressive. So again, that's another mistake with this particular game. Okay, folks, there you go. Analysing a few of my mistakes, analysing some of the Protoss' mistakes, and, of course, showing you the use of a Ghost in PvT. Consider it, folks. Throw it into your game. See if it helps you. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. But it's worth spicing things up a bit, because if you keep just smashing your head against the brick wall of the Protoss defensive line with Marines Marauders and it doesn't work, and you're stuck without the ability to quickly get medevacs out, you could probably get a Ghost out much quicker. Plonk down that Ghost Academy, get a Ghost out, and probably get that out way quicker than you can build your factory, build your starport, and then build your medivac, and indeed maybe build your reactor as well in the process. Consider it, throw it in there. Add a little bit of spice to your PvT bioball. My name's been Totalbiscuit, and I still suck at Starcraft 2. I'll see you next time.